Hello, my friends. I'm gonna make a few videos about the story because it might come quite long, or maybe not. But I wanna start. I wanna try to explain it well in a way that makes sense, and and I wanna just take the time I need to share this experience that I had it's now 12 years ago. I came in London after 4 years living in New Zealand. At the time, I would say New Zealand, it's where all started at faster speed. I mean, over the years, from Australia or in Italy, when I lived in Italy, where I grew up, I did experience situations that was telling me that the so-called life it's not just what we think it is. I, as a young being, I kind of like keep, you know, remove it like from my memories. I keep, doing what most of the human does. You go to work, you meet friends, you're looking for a girlfriend, uh, you have dramas, dreams, and so on. So I was doing what most of the people does, and back in Italy, sometime I did experience something peculiar, but I just moved on and I keep living in the way that I knew best. Then you know, moved forward. I flew to Australia, and there I would say the first big event, one of the big happenings that shaped my perceptions of reality. And that was with the famous Bradley, this guy that I met in this hostel in Sydney, and that after many crazy things he did, left. Well, let's say he ran away. Um, I met him again. Well, I didn't meet him, but I saw him again a month later in a bar in in Sydney. Always in Sydney, like by accident. But later on, I realized that the so-called accidents or coincidence does not exist. Past 1 year and more than 1 year, and I met him again in Perth in a hostel. Perth is 3 hours flight from Sydney, and a few weeks later, he ended up getting a job as a cook in the same coffee shop I worked. So that was like I would say, the first big. I can call it mystical because you cannot explain it. Yeah, you can dismiss it as a coincidence, as we've been taught. But what is coincidence, right? You meet someone in Sydney, 1 year and a half later, you meet it again in Perth, 1 hours and a half away flight, and then the guy it shows up to be hired in your same workplace. Perth is 2 million people, and it's a big city. Anyway, that was the first, and that's the one that opened the path to what down what then came later. And this is then many other things happened, and then in New Zealand, I remember that there was a starting point, and this was a year where I remember a friend forward a message say, if you do a calculation with the current year and your date of birth, for everyone that regarding the date of birth of when they were born or which month, it will always come as a 111. And that's when I started to see the number one repeating number ones all places. And that's when events started to happen, things started to happen, like strange, weird things started to happen. And I keep moving on, with my human life, of dramas, part, and so on. Things happens, situation change, and I found myself forced to leave New Zealand, and I end up in London, where I decided I wanted to fully focus to my spirituality, to my spiritual growth. And I remember that for 3 months I was able to hold on that promise, and it was wonderful. I remember that the state of peace, the the I was in a total state of peace. It was just beautiful. Sometimes, I would remember I would go back in my hostel, because at the time I stayed in a hostel in Paddington. That was my first accommodation, and I remember that sometimes I was there in this really calm state, and I was feeling so well. It was just wonderful. It was just a wonderful feeling. I was capable for very first time to maintain for prolonged length of time this you know focus on the now, in the present moment, and didn't let any distraction take me away from the path. And somehow it managed to build something internally that then probably is the reason of what happened on one night. But before that night, I remember there was things started to fall into place in a very easy way. Like all the things I was searching, looking for in that time, it would just show up like magic. At the job, the new accommodations, the people, the right connections, synchronicity. It was just like going, happening all the time, non-stop. So definitely something, was happening energetically that was reshaping my external reality. And then one day was that one evening I was walking in the corridor to, I think I was in going the kitchen. I'm in the kitchen of the hostel, and there was this guy, interesting guy. He was British, Welsh maybe, um, even as him as well, and on his spiritual search. He was like what he told me about himself. That was that at some point I can remember why I moved to Brighton. In Brighton, made like a lot of money, and as he made a lot of money, was doing very well, so was very successful. But at the same time, he's basically wasted all of it. I think on drugs and more, to the point that he lost everything and moved to London. Really nice guy. There is more about him that I cannot remember. But I remember he tells me this one day. He look at my hands and say, Alex, there is something special, something's going on with your hands in a very good way, in a very positive way. Now I cannot remember the words, exactly the words he used to describe it, but it was positive, and it was drawn by my hands, like if my hands had something like that it did draw his attention. So I wasn't really sure about what he was talking about. I kind of like dismissed it, and and moved on.